Thank you to our Board of Education and Central Office for supporting Gifted and Talented and the arts programs throughout Woodbridge Township, making shows like this possible and all of the learning that takes place leading up to this show. Thank you also to our tech team. We have Will here tonight, and Bruno will be editing backstage, back in the studio. So thanks to our tech team for always supporting our performances. And to our parents and extended families, thank you for being here and for giving us your kids all year so that we can do this fun work, great work, and see them grow all throughout the year. And mostly tonight, I want to thank our teachers and our students. We have Ms. Law, give a wave. Also known as Mrs. Haig, but she's a music teacher. I have to call her Ms. Law forever. So, yes, our music teacher, and Ms. Quinn, our creative writing and theater arts teacher. They work so hard, and I know they've seen such great progress in your students. And thank you to our students for your hard work. Thank you for making us proud every day and for everything that you've learned. You're going to be awesome, and we can't wait to see your show. So without further ado, I give you the elementary school music and creative writing theater arts evening of Tall Tales and Legends. Enjoy.
Howdy, and welcome to our Gifted and Talented Spring Symposium. Tonight, we'll be listening to some classic American selections performed by the G&T Music Department. To go along with our musical selections, the G&T Creative Writing and Theater Arts Department will be performing some Reader's Theater's versions of traditional American tall tales.
In its early years, America was a wild, new country filled with dark forests, towering mountains, arid deserts, and endless plains. While heading west, settlers encountered many difficulties, clearing paths in huge forests, poor weather, ferocious animals, and crossing rivers and mountains, just to name a few.
Taming these lands was a difficult job for pioneers. Wherever people settled and worked hard to survive, tales of larger-than-life characters were told and retold. The heroes and heroines of these tall tales were like the land itself, gigantic, restless, and lively. As people do, they stretched the truth. Characters of these stories began to do superhuman things like cut down a tree or with one swing, lasso a tornado.
Their exaggerated feats of endurance and bravery helped give the settlers courage and encouragement, as well as entertainment as they faced difficulties of frontier life. These tales also offered outrageous explanations for the amazing sights the settlers encountered on the vast, rugged lands they'd come to inhabit.
Tonight, you will meet some of the heroes and heroines of these tales and listen to music inspired by strength, spirit, and endurance of Americans. So sit back and enjoy a night of tall tales and music.
In the late 1870s, loggers began cutting down the huge forests that covered New England, the Pacific Northwest, and the woods near the Great Lakes in order to make room for settlers and to supply lumber to help build new towns.
At the time, logging was a huge business because so much revolved around it. Everything from building homes, towns, carriages, and ships, to heating homes and fueling stoves.
The loggers told tales around the fire at night to pass the time. Most people believe that it was through these tales that the legend of Paul Bunyan was born.
According to folklore, Paul Bunyan was a giant of a man and a lumberjack of extraordinary skill, who was usually accompanied by his massive companion, Babe the Blue Ox. Paul was said to have amazing strength, which allowed him to perform superhuman feats, such as creating the Great Lakes and the Grand Canyon.
Paul Bunyan represents the hard-working individual who paves his own way in the world. The ideals that Bunyan represented, hard work for yourself that also benefits others, are still prized throughout America. Get ready to meet the mighty Paul Bunyan.
Not too long ago, a baby was born in the state of Maine.
But this baby was like no other baby anyone had ever seen.
Pa, we need more food for baby Paul.
More food already? That baby eats more than 20 people do.
I know. This morning he ate 50 eggs and a bathtub full of porridge.
And that beard. Whoever heard of a baby with a beard?
True, I have to comb it with a pine tree to keep it smooth. Still, we're lucky to have such a healthy son.
Yup, and he sure is strong.
He's a good boy.
Paul grew bigger and bigger every day.
The whole town pitched in to help Paul.
Hello, neighbors. I'm here with the milk for Paul's bottle.
Oh, thank you.
We had to milk 2 dozen cows this morning just to get enough for one bottle.
Now, if only we could figure out a way to get him some new clothes.
He grows out of everything so quickly.
How about we get the whole town together tonight for a sewing bee?
That would be wonderful.
Everyone would be happy to make some new clothes for Paul.
Thank you kindly.
Unfortunately, Paul's giant size caused even more problems. I hate to complain, but there's something else.
What's that?
Well, this morning the ground shook so much that all of my dishes broke.
I'm afraid that was caused by baby Paul rolling over in his cradle.
And when you give that baby a bath in the river, he splashes around so much my house gets flooded.
Gee, we're very sorry about that.
The baby of yours is just too big. Please, you must do something.
She's right, Pa. What can we do?
As much as we love baby Paul, he'll go have to live in the woods.
The woods?
I'll give him an axe and a fishing pole. He'll grow up to be a fine outdoorsman.
So with tears in their eyes, Paul's parents said goodbye to Paul.
Paul taught himself to find food in the woods.
He grew to be about 20 feet tall.
Yum! That was the best dinner I've ever had. Hey, it's snowing, but that big pile of snow is bright blue. How strange.
Ma.
What's that?
Ma.
Why, it's a big blue baby ox. The snow must have turned her blue with cold. What's wrong, little babe? Have you lost your mama? Well, you can live with me. I'll call you Babe. We'll be great friends.
Paul and Babe did become great friends.
Babe grew so big that you need a telescope to see from her head to her hind legs.
In those days, the forest was filled with trees.
Soon, people needed them to build houses and ships.
The logging industry had begun.
Babe, I'm going to become a logger. I can cut down 10 trees at once. Come on, Babe. Let's bring some trees out west.
Paul and Babe walked to Minnesota in about a week.
They stopped at the Big Onion River and decided to send the logs down the river to the mill.
If I had some help, we could log twice as fast. I need some workers.
Paul only hired loggers who were 10 feet tall and very strong.
Soon he had about 1,000 loggers working for him.
But feeding 1,000 10-foot tall loggers plus Paul and Babe was a tough job for the camp cook.
Boss, I don't have a big enough pan to make pancakes for all these loggers.
I can fix that. I'll make you a pan as big as an ice skating rink.
But how will I grease this pan?
We'll ask 100 loggers to put grease on the bottom of their boots and skate all over the pan until it's covered.
Great idea, but I'd like to make pea soup for supper and I don't have a big enough pot.
I'll fill that lake over there with peas. I'll stir it up and we'll have soup for everyone.
We have another problem.
What's that?
The loggers are complaining that they're too cold.
I know what to do. I'll cut some of my beard off and we can knit scarves and gloves for everyone.
Sure thing, but the loggers are also really thirsty.
I'll just dig a few ponds. The loggers can drink from them.
That'll work just fine. Thanks, Paul.
Those little ponds became America's Great Lakes.
Paul and Babe continued to move across the country with their logging company.
Some folks say they are still in the woods of the Northwest.
Others say they've gone as far as the Arctic Circle.
But wherever they are, you can be sure they're doing really big things.
In the early logging days of Wisconsin, when the northern stand of great white pines stood tall, in the southern Great Lakes region of Ontario, lumberjacks in Paul. Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, timberman of great northwestern fame. Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Big Paul Bunyan was his name. In his stockings he stood 12 foot 11. Was 180 pounds of lumberjack. Goes his big black curly beard with a buckle. He was the strongest man that ever swung in axe. Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, timberman of great northwestern fame. Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Bunyan, Big Paul Bunyan was his name. For his breakfast he ate 600 pancakes, 7 hamster, 12 dozen eggs all piping hot, 37 pounds of beef and 1 whole venison, with fried potatoes, bread, and coffee by the pot. Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, timberman of great northwestern fame. Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Big Paul Bunyan was his name. Big Paul's spirit led the men who cleared Wisconsin, sailed the logs down the river to the mill, saw the lumber for our homes and open farmland. His legend lives on in our hearts and always will. Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, timberman of great northwestern fame. Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Paul Bunyan, Big Paul Bunyan was his name. Paul Bunyan!
As time went on, more and more people traveled farther out west, looking for better lives and new opportunities. Many of them settled in a part of the country known as the Great Plains, vast stretches of grassy flatland that stretch as far as the Rocky Mountains in Colorado.
These people encountered difficult and unfamiliar living and farming conditions. Drought, dust storms, blistering heat, paralyzing cold, and insects were just some of the obstacles that people faced.
In order to survive, people had to figure out new ways of doing things and learn to work with what the land had to offer. It was during this time that the tales of a clever farmer, Feeble Feebleson, began to be told.
According to legend, Feeble Feebleson was a giant man, but it was smarts rather than size that made this pioneer a hero of the Great Plains. He seemed to outwit Mother Nature, no matter what she threw at him, and was able to convince more and more people to come live on the Great Plains.
Tales of Feeble Feebleson provided inspiration for pioneers as they settled unfamiliar land. The character of Feeble Feebleson personifies the resourcefulness, perseverance, and determination of American farmers, and the tales of his cleverness are still told today. Let's head out to the Great Plains to meet Feeble Feebleson.
Feeble Feebleton lived with his wife on the Great Plains. They were very lonely and wanted other people to settle near them.
Look, I think I see some folk coming over that hill. They're probably on their way to California.
I sure wish they would stay here. I'm as lonely as a pine tree in the middle of a desert.
Whenever travelers passed by, they would call out to them.
Hello.
Hey, why don't you come live here?
I can't. I'm going to California.
Why are you going there?
There's gold out there.
Gold? Well, there's gold and sunshine right here.
Oh, come on. Stay here and settle down.
Goes away in there.
Feeble thought for a moment.
So it's gold the settlers want, huh?
Seems so.
If it's gold they want, it's gold they'll get.
Feeble ordered 1,000 goldfish from far away, and he dumped them into a nearby lake.
There's gold here. Look at it sparkle. Let's start panning.
It worked.
Now we'll have neighbors.
The settlers worked day and night searching for the gold that was shimmering in the lake, but soon they grew hot and tired.
It's too hot and dry out here, and besides, there's no gold, just goldfish. I'd better move on and find a better place to live.
Feeble and his wife were still lonely. One day, a new group of pioneers came by.
Hello there, traveler.
Are you looking for a place to settle down and start a farm?
We're going out west where the grass is as green as a clover to start a farm.
Why don't you settle here?
When it rains, this land is as pretty as a picture.
That's right.
We sure would like some neighbors to keep us company.
This land is dry as bone. There seems to be more dirt in the air than on the ground.
It's really a great place to live.
It looks like it has some rain here in a month of Sundays.
I think I might be able to do something about that.
If there were water, we just might stay.
Just stay here tonight. I promise you some rain by tomorrow.
What can you do to make it rain?
Oh, just leave everything up to good old Feeble.
Feeble thought and thought. Finally, he had an idea.
I know. I'll build a fire near the lake.
What'll that do?
The heat will make the lake water rise into the air. Then it will rain back down.
That's a great plan.
The next day, Feeble built a fire. Soon, big clouds formed over the lake and it began to rain, but the rain never hit the ground.
The air is so hot and dry that the rain has turned to steam.
It is foggy indeed.
This is terrible. I can't see a thing.
Wait, I can get rid of the fog.
Feeble took out a big pair of scissors, cut the fog into strips, and buried it in a field.
Well, there's no more fog, but we can't live without rain. Off to California we go.
Wait, just let me think. I know. We need noise.
Noise?
Sure, it always rains when there's a lot of noise.
You know, whenever there are fireworks, outdoor concerts, or parties.
What we need are some frogs.
Frogs?
Sure, it always rains when there's a... Frogs make lots of noise.
So Feeble rounded up all the frogs on his farm. The only problem was, frogs only make noise when they're wet, and these frogs were very dry.
I know, I'll make them think it's raining.
There's still one drop of water left in the well. That ought to do it.
Feeble got the one drop of water from the well. He put it on one of the frogs, then he whispered to that frog.
Hey, Froggy, it's raining. It's raining. Look at all that rain.
Feeble had the frog believing it was raining. Once that frog started making noise, so did all the others.
Ribbit, 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 ribbit.
Soon it began to rain.
It worked. Can we stay here?
Yes, this is a wonderful place to settle down.
After that, even more people came to settle on the land. Feeble and Feebleton had helped to settle a new frontier.
Our next folk hero is John Henry. Historians disagree about whether John Henry was a real man, but his story is based in part on real events. It was said that he was a freed slave hired by the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad Company after the Civil War.
Railroads began to link the United States together in the 19th century. The railroads made it possible to travel from one side of the country to the other in less than a week.
Before then, the same trip might have taken up to 6 months. Railroad companies employed thousands of workers to create the railroads. However, the job could be very dangerous.
John Henry was known for his strength, and legend had it that he was born with a hammer in his hand. He was the hero of former slaves and the workers who built the railroad.
John Henry represents the spirit of growth in America during this period and the contributions of African Americans to our growing nation. The story of John Henry has been the subject of numerous songs, stories, plays, books, and novels. Please enjoy our version of the John Henry legend.
Even as a baby, John Henry loved hammering things. Some folks said he was even born with a hammer in his hand. One day, a woman named Little Lil stopped at the Henry homestead for a drink of water.
One day, I'm going to drive steel for the railway.
I'm going to work for the railway too. They need good workers. Why don't you come with me?
Sure, you've got yourself a partner.
So, John Henry sat out with Lil and started working for the C&O Railroad Company.
Drive 'em, times are rolling.
Driving steel to earn our pay.
Drive 'em, keep 'em moving.
1 more mile by the end of the day.
Captain Walters was John Henry's boss. He soon came to realize John Henry's extraordinary abilities.
John Henry, you are the best steel driving man I've ever worked with.
I was born to drive steel, Captain. It's what I do best.
You can drive more steel in one day than half a dozen of my very best workers.
Thank you. With Lil holding the spikes, I can give the railroad a good day's work.
One day, the captain called all of his workers together.
Folks, there's someone here I'd like you to meet. This Yankees investor has got his steam drill to be tested here.
That's right, folks. This steam drill of mine will drill a hole through solid rock faster than a dozen workers.
If what you say is true, Captain, that iron monster will soon be taking our jobs, what machine could possibly be as a good steel driving man?
You haven't seen my steam drill work yet.
And you haven't seen my friend John Henry's work. With his 20-pound hammer, he can outdrive any machine any day.
Now, don't be too hasty, Lily. I've seen this machine in operation, and I could tell you it's a wonder.
My iron monster is indeed a sight to behold. I'm more than willing to test it against anyone here.
What do you say, John Henry? If that machine is as good as they say, then our jobs are as good as gone.
It does look like an iron monster, but I sure will give it my best.
All right, then. I'll allow the competition to take place under one condition.
What's that?
If John Henry wins, the company will pay him $100 more, and all the workers will keep their jobs.
Agreed.
John Henry and the steam drill lined up side by side. A big crowd gathered outside.
Wish me luck, folks.
The starter dropped his flag and the contest began.
Go John Henry! Go John Henry! Go John Henry!
Look, folks, my steam-powered drill is pulling ahead.
That will only make John Henry work harder.
Look at him go!
He's splitting the rocks so fast, it sounds like the mountain is cracking in half.
The competition is halfway over.
John Henry and the machine are neck and neck.
John pulled farther ahead of the machine, and his 20-pound hammer was rising and falling as fast as lightning.
Go, John Henry.
Go John Henry. Go John Henry.
His breath burned like fire in his lungs, and his muscles were aching.
Time's up, Yankee. Looks like our John Henry has won the competition.
He has for a fact, Captain, but it looks like your man is a little worse for the wear.
Did I beat the steam hammer?
You did, John Henry. No one could have done better.
Then, John Henry boarded the train only he could see.
Oh no, John Henry has collapsed.
Although John Henry died that hot July day, his story has become part of the railroad life and legend. And whenever a train speeds over the tracks, some part of John Henry rides the rails with it.
When John Henry was a little baby, sitting on his happy's knee, he grabbed a hammer and a little piece of steel, said, "This hammer be the death of me. Oh Lord, this hammer be the death of me." John Henry. And Henry said to his captain, "Oh, Captain, a man ain't nothing but a man. I'm just a man, but before that steam drill beat me down, I'll die with the hammer in my hand. Oh, Lord, die with the hammer in my hand." John Henry got his 30-pound hammer, and by the steam drill he did stand, and he beat that steam drill 3 inches down. Then he died with the hammer in his hand. Oh Lord, died with the hammer in his hand. They carried John. They carried John Henry to the graveyard, and they buried him underneath the sand. And every locomotive says there lies a steel driving man. Oh Lord. There lies a steel driving man. John Henry, John Henry, John Henry, oh John Henry, John Henry, John Henry, John Henry, oh John Henry. Hammer in hand is the driving man, the legend of John Henry. Mighty and strong, he will work all day long, the legend of John Henry. Hammer in hand is the driving man, the legend of John Henry. Mighty and strong, he could work all day long, the legend of John Henry. Oh, John Henry.
In the early days of our country, people sailed the rough seas of the Atlantic, fishing, whaling, and trading. Before the invention of engines, ships were outfitted with huge sails, powered by nothing but the wind.
It took great courage and strength to sail these ships, and stories were told of Alfred Boatop Stormalong. Stormalong was an American folk hero and the subject of numerous tall tales originating in New England.
He was said to be 30 feet tall and the master of a huge clipper ship, so tall that its sail almost touched the moon.
Now, just where Stormalong came from is a bit of a mystery. Most folks said he came from the ocean during a fierce storm.
The fishermen of Cape Cod were used to all kinds of unusual things, washing up on the shore during a storm. But in all of history, they never saw anything like what washed up on one particular day.
Join us for the tale of Stormalong, the greatest sailor who ever lived.
One day, a huge storm struck a village on the coast of Maine. A child found something incredible on the beach and went to get his parents.
Come quick! You won't believe your eyes.
What is it?
A big wave came and washed a baby upon the shore.
That's strange. A baby, huh?
Yes, a big baby.
I've never heard of such a thing.
They went to the beach and saw a baby sitting there.
Look at that!
That baby is bigger than a house.
Have you seen anything like that before?
No, I can't say that I have.
Can we keep him?
Well, it'll be hard to feed such a big baby, but okay.
He needs a name.
What should we name him?
How about Alfred Boatop Stormalong?
That's a mighty big name.
We can call him Stormalong, since he came to us during a storm.
Great idea.
Yes, Stormy for short.
Stormy it is.
12 years passed. Stormy went to school in the village, but he wasn't happy.
You've certainly grown into a fine young lad, all 36 feet of you.
People stare at me all the time.
Well, that's because you're so good looking.
Nah, you know why. It's because I'm bigger than a whale.
Don't pay any attention to them.
I think it's time I move somewhere else.
What do you have in mind?
I came from the sea, and I belong on the sea. I'll become a sailor.
So Stormalong set off to become a sailor. Soon he came upon a big ship.
Captain, sir.
Well, blow me down.
I'm looking for work. Can you use another sailor?
Well, you're a big boy, but I'm sure we could use you.
Captain, are you sure about this? He might sink the ship.
He's a fine young lad, and his size may come in handy someday.
That day came soon after the ship set sail.
Whoa, the sea is mighty rough.
I think something's got a hold of our ship.
It's pulling us under.
Let me go take a look.
Stormy eased himself gently into the water. He didn't want to make a tidal wave.
Be careful, Stormy.
As Stormy disappeared under the waves, the crew gathered along the ship's rails to watch and wait. Finally, Stormy rose to the surface.
It's a giant octopus. He's got all 8 legs wrapped around our ship.
Can you help us, Stormy?
I've got an idea.
Stormy disappeared under the water again. The crew nervously waited for Stormy to surface from the deep sea.
He's been under a long time.
I hope nothing's happened to good old Stormy.
Suddenly, Stormy broke through the waves and dragged himself back onto the deck of the ship.
What happened, Stormy?
Well, I tied all 8 of those octopus legs into knots. By the time he gets himself untangled, we'll be long gone.
Great job, Stormy. Stormy worked on the ship for quite a while, but he still wasn't completely happy.
What's wrong, Stormy?
Well, I don't mean to complain, but this ship is feeling a bit too small for me. I might have to move along.
But you can't. You're the best sailor the ship has ever seen.
I have an idea.
The crew got to work. They built the biggest ship anyone had ever seen.
Is this better, Stormy?
This is so huge. I bet the sailors need to ride horses just to get from one side to the other.
We worked on it all night.
It's perfect. I can't thank you enough.
We couldn't lose you.
I suppose you'll need a crew.
Well, I couldn't ask for a better crew than you. What do you say?
We'd be honored to work aboard your vessel.
Nowadays, sailors wear the initials ABS on their uniforms. Most folks think that means able-bodied seaman, but we all know it stands for Alfred Bulltop Stormalong.
The greatest sailor who ever sailed the seas.
There once was a ship that put to sea. The name of the ship was a Billy of Tea. The winds blew up her bow, dip down, oh blow, my bully boys blow. Ha! Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Ha! Soon may the watermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Ha! For the boat had hit the water, the whale's tail came up and caught her. All hands to the side, harpooned and fought her when she dived down below. Soon may the wellermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. No line was cut, no whale was freed. The captain's mind was not of greed, and he belonged to the whaleman's creed. She took that ship in tow. Huh. Soon may the wellermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. For 40 days or even more, the line went slack and tight once more. All boats were lost, there were only 4, but still that whale did go. Huh. Soon may the wellermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. As far as I've heard, the fight's still on. The line's not cut and the whale's not gone. The wellerman makes his regular call to encourage the captain's crew and all. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Take our leave and go. Ha! Mountain Dew, labels looking alright. Oh, here comes the turn to the root beer, bounce to the orange, swing with the Pepsi, promenade the chairs of the chilies, the bubbles of it up, bubbles of it up. Lead the breath guy to the left, then the lemon lime. Toasty dough, refreshing squirt, keep those flavors in time. Calling out to the